She was denied entry because of her deformed hands. Then, a homeless man spoke up. The laughter stopped the moment she touched the door handle. Every head in the bakery turned. The smell of sugar and butter hung thick in the air. But all anyone could look at were her hands twisted, bent in strange angles, like branches broken and healed wrong. "Ma'am," the cashier's voice trembled, "you can't come in here." For a second, nobody breathed. The girl in the pink coat, Clara, froze at the doorway, clutching a small dollar bill in her good hand. Her voice came out soft. I just wanted a cupcake. For my mom's birthday." The manager, a tall man with slick hair, stepped forward. "We have rules about hygiene," he said, eyes narrowing at her hands. "People are eating here. Please leave." A woman at the corner table whispered loudly, "Why doesn't she wear gloves or something?" Someone else snickered. Clara's eyes glistened. She looked down at the floor, whispering, "I washed them, I promise." Then a raspy voice came from the corner. "Rules about hygiene, huh? Then why are your hearts the dirtiest things in this place?" The voice came from a man sitting near the window, a homeless man, gray beard, tattered jacket, clutching a paper cup half filled with coins. Everyone turned toward him. He stood slowly, his hand trembling as he placed the cup on the counter. The coins clinked softly. "Here," he said. "If her money's not good enough, take mine." The room went dead silent. Clara looked up, her lip quivering. The manager stared, unsure what to say. And then, the homeless man turned to Clara and said something that made everyone's jaw drop. The room was frozen. Forks hovered mid-air. The homeless man looked straight at the manager and said, "You don't know who you're talking to." The manager blinked, frowning. "Excuse me?" He pointed at Clara. "That girl you're trying to embarrass, she once saved my life." A ripple of confusion spread across the bakery. Clara's eyes widened. I don't even know you." He smiled sadly. "You don't remember, do you?" People leaned in. Phones were half raised. Nobody wanted to miss a word. He nodded slowly, voice shaking but strong. "Last winter, I was sleeping behind the bus station. It was the coldest night of the year. Everyone walked past me. Everyone. Except one girl who wore mittens on only one hand." Clara gasped. Her good hand went to her mouth. She put her other mitten on my hand," the man continued. "The one that was turning blue. She said, 'You can have mine. My hand doesn't feel pain.' I didn't understand what she meant until I saw." He looked down at her deformed fingers. "Until I saw her hand." A few people lowered their eyes. The laughter and whispers had vanished. Clara's lips trembled. "That was you?" He nodded. "And you didn't ask for anything. You just walked away." The manager shifted awkwardly, trying to regain control. "Sir, that doesn't change the fact that we—" But before he could finish, an elderly woman who had been quiet until now stood up. "Enough," she said sharply. "I've owned restaurants for 40 years, and I've never seen cruelty served so cold." She walked toward Clara, reaching for her hand. "Sweetheart, come with me." Clara hesitated, eyes darting between the crowd, the homeless man, and the woman. Then, the woman looked the manager dead in the eye and said something that made the entire bakery gasp. The room went silent again, only this time, it wasn't out of cruelty, it was out of shock. The old woman's voice rang clear. "I own this place." The manager's face drained of color. "What? What?" She turned to Clara gently. "My name's Mrs. Whitmore. I built this bakery from scratch 30 years ago, and I'll be damned if I let anyone shame a child for the way she was born." The whispers started up again, this time softer, uncertain. The same people who had laughed moments ago now stared at their coffee cups. Mrs. Whitmore faced the crowd. "You all saw it, didn't you? A young girl treated like dirt because her hands don't look like yours. I don't care how fancy your coffee is. If this is what we've become, then every pastry here might as well taste like ash." The homeless man watched, eyes glistening. He wiped his nose with his sleeve. Clara stood there trembling, half wanting to disappear, half wanting to cry. Her deformed fingers twitched nervously as she whispered, "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Mrs. Whitmore kneeled beside her. "Sweetheart, kindness is never trouble." Then she turned to the manager. "You're fired." The man stammered, "You can't. I was just following." "Get out," she said quietly, with the kind of authority that made everyone sit up straighter. He stormed out, slamming the glass door so hard the bell above it rang like a warning. Mrs. Whitmore exhaled and looked down at Clara. "Now, let's get you that cupcake." But just as Clara smiled, something unexpected happened. The homeless man's knees buckled. The cup in his hand dropped, spilling coins across the floor. "Sir?" Clara gasped, rushing to him. "Are you okay?" He looked pale, his breathing shallow. I didn't eat today," he whispered before collapsing completely. The crowd screamed. Mrs. Whitmore shouted for someone to call 911. Clara knelt beside him, tears in her eyes, holding his hand tight. "Stay with me, please." And as the sirens grew faintly in the distance, the homeless man's cracked lips moved. And he whispered something that made Clara's whole body go still. Clara leaned closer, barely hearing his voice over the chaos. "Tell who?" she whispered, her small hand gripping as tightly. The homeless man's eyes fluttered open for a second. He looked straight at her like he was seeing someone else entirely. "Tell her. I found her," he rasped, and then his head tilted to the side. "Sir," Clara cried, "don't close your eyes." Mrs. Whitmore knelt beside her, pressing 2 fingers to his neck. "He's breathing," she said quickly. "But we need the ambulance now." Outside, the sound of sirens grew louder. The once judgmental crowd was now huddled near the windows, watching in silent guilt. The same woman who'd mocked Clara earlier wiped her eyes. "I didn't know he was sick," she whispered. Clara stayed by his side, whispering, "You're gonna be okay. You have to be." End quote. But her words caught when she saw something poking out from his worn jacket. A photo, folded and smudged with dirt. She carefully pulled it out. The picture showed a young woman with the same bright green eyes as Clara. Behind her stood a man holding a baby with one tiny twisted hand. Clara's breath caught. Her voice shook. "That's my mom." Mrs. Whitmore glanced down. "Honey, are you sure?" Tears filled Clara's eyes. "I know that smile anywhere." The paramedics burst in, lifting the man onto a stretcher. Clara clutched the photo, refusing to let go. As they carried him out, one of the paramedics turned to her. "Do you know him?" Clara hesitated, her throat tightened. I think he might be my grandfather." The words hit the room like thunder. Mrs. Whitmore froze. The customers gasped. Even the paramedics exchanged looks. Before anyone could ask another question, Clara ran out into the cold, chasing the stretcher as the doors swung closed behind her. And then, just as the ambulance doors were about to shut, the homeless man opened his eyes one last time and whispered something no one else could hear. Clara leaned in, and what he said changed everything she thought she knew about her family. The ambulance bounced over a pothole as Clara sat inside, gripping the man's cold hand. The paramedic checked his vitals, whispering, "He's weak, but he's fighting." Clara's heart pounded. "Please," she said, tears streaming down her face, "please don't leave me before you tell me the truth." The man's eyes fluttered open, glassy but focused on her face. "Your mother," he whispered, voice thin as air. "Your mother never gave up on me. Your mother never gave up on me. Your mother never gave up on me." Clara's breath caught. "You knew my mom?" He nodded weakly. "She was my daughter." Clara froze. Every sound in the world seemed to fade, the beeping machines, the hum of the engine, everything. "I left when she was a little girl," he continued, tears slipping down his face. "I thought I wasn't good enough. I thought they'd be better without me. I was wrong." Clara squeezed his hand, shaking. "She told me you died." "I almost did," he said softly. But one night, one little girl gave me her mitten and said, "You can have mine. My hand doesn't feel pain." He smiled faintly, and I realized I'd been given another chance to do something right. Clara sobbed, unable to hold it in anymore. "Why didn't you find her?" "I tried," he said. "Every year I came back to town. Every year I looked for her, until I saw you." The paramedic interrupted. "We're almost at the hospital. Hang in there, sir." But he didn't seem to hear. He looked at Clara with trembling lips. You have her eyes and her heart. Don't let this world make you ashamed of your hands, Clara. They're proof that love survives even after pain." Clara pressed her forehead to his hand, whispering, "I forgive you." And then the beeping flattened into a long, endless tone. "Sir? Sir, can you hear me?" the paramedic shouted. Clara didn't move. She just held his hand tighter, tears streaming down her face, whispering, "You're home now, Grandpa." Outside the hospital doors, the rain started to fall, but through the glass, Mrs. Whitmore stood waiting, holding a single cupcake with a candle in it. She lit it softly and whispered, "Happy birthday, Clara's mom." He found her. Kindness doesn't need perfect hands. It just needs a willing heart.